This is in reference to Bill O'Reilly's Talking Points memo of Tuesday, November 11th, 2014, Mistreating Black Americans. And I really love it, Billy. Again, you go in and you talk about how blacks have been mistreated in a very, very, as I like to say, you whitewashed it in this very way. You present nothing in terms of how you would correct it. And then you go in and then go back in and blame black Americans for their problem because you blame it on the culture. Well, let's go through a few things first. You do admit that black Americans have been mistreated over the years. Well, let's just go in. What has kept it, what has that done? Okay, black Americans, they couldn't get a higher education. They couldn't get an education. They couldn't eat in certain places. They couldn't sit at the table. They couldn't sit. They couldn't sit in one section on the bus. They couldn't get housing in a certain area. They were locked in a certain area where they could live. They couldn't even use the same restroom as white people. So that's a whole litany of types of things, all right? And that was all written in the law. And then what other types of things? I was on an interview 30, 35 years ago, 40 years, I don't know what it was, a long time ago. Guy said, hey, you don't have to worry about hiring any blacks. That ain't going to happen here, all right? So that's what's gone on. So it's not only been written in the law, it's been a pervasive attitude of a lot of people is that, hey, don't worry about that. We got that covered. We ain't hiring any of them folks. Okay, so we have hundreds of years of this happening. We've had families split up for years and years. Okay, people couldn't even pay for their own family to feed themselves because of the wages that we continued to pay even after we had stopped with slavery. And of course, you go on and say, oh, we have sort of mistreated black people, but this thing again, it's the culture. But then again, here again, and I mentioned this another time, how come the per student rate for children in the inner city is much lower than the outlying areas? And there's charter schools all over these inner cities right now, which are fucking things up even more, and you know that, all right? And they're not giving the type of education in many, many instances that needs to be done. How come we can't have the same level of expenditures, the same quality of education for people in the inner city as we can in the outlying suburbs? What other types of things would I do? Well, how about universal family planning for all women, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, starting at age 12, all right? Complete, and none of this bullshit stuff about abstinence and all this other type of stuff. They have their bodies. They have to take care of their bodies. They should be given the truth about how their bodies work and how their bodies perform and what can be done if they want to decide at 12 or 13 that I don't want to have a child at 13, 14, 15, or 16. I don't want to do that. Why not have that now? That wouldn't cost a lot of money. It would save money because it would save a lot of teenage births and unwed mothers. And of course, you lament about the fact that it's such a high unemployment, but you mention nothing about what can be done about unemployment in terms of jobs programs, which we should do. We should we should establish jobs programs. We should establish jobs programs in the inner city right away. All right, but you don't want to have that. Now, getting back to the women, and I'm going to bring this up for all women again. If a woman is not in control of her own body, Billy, is she really free? So empowering women to decide when they're 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, how they want to live their life, when they want to decide when they want to have children, whether they want to be married or not, that will save the United States a whole heck of a lot of money, all right? And that will empower them all the way through their lives. And again, then you bring up the incarceration rate. Well, you didn't do that. You just mentioned the unemployment rate. But let's bring up the incarceration rate, which was another thing that I didn't talk about, was how it was written in the law, again, to discriminate against black people, specifically in terms of cocaine, that for crack cocaine, the same equal amount of crack cocaine that was sold, which was just as deadly as regular powder cocaine, that you would get twice the sentence. So, we have an inordinate number of young black men who are incarcerated and who have been incarcerated for long periods of time for just being, which never would have happened to a white person in the suburbs, and you know that. And you talk about, well, they're not accepting their responsibility. Christ, they're all getting sent to jail. They're all getting sent to jail for all kinds of little stuff. You know, so there's all kinds of things that you bring up, you know, about how we've mistreated them, but you didn't bring up one solution. You didn't bring up anything. You didn't bring up education. You didn't bring up family planning. You didn't bring up jobs. You know, what's the, you know, how, you know, what's the job prospect for them? How can we help inner city youth get better jobs? You know, mentoring programs, that's one thing, but there still has to be a lot more. So, but you sugarcoat the whole thing, Billy. You just say, oh, we mistreated them, but look at their culture. It sucks. That's why they're down, and they're going to stay down as long as they keep that culture, because you think that the white culture is better than the black culture. That's what you think. So that's why you're willing to say the black culture sucks. You know, and that's what kids keeping them down. No, Billy, it's not the culture that sucks. It's you that suck. And you and your ilk and your attitude about how you want to continue to keep people of color down.